Senior High School on Air.
Senior High School on Air. The front line of quality and excellent learning.
Excellent learning. You have all the best of the best.
Best of the best of the
Sa
best.
magandang umaga, handa na ba kayong matuto?
Naghanda na po.
Reading and writing.
Pagbasa at pagsusuri ng teksto tungo sa pananaliksik.
Practical Research 1.
English for academic and professional purposes.
Ability and Statistics.
General Biology 2.
Disciplines and ideas in applied social sciences.
Cookery and more.
Senior High School Best of the Best.
Best of the best of the best.
An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Benjamin Franklin. Hello there, grade 11 learners. You are tuned in to Radio Eskwela sa Isabela in SDO Isabela. Welcome to another episode of Fun Learning this semester. This is your radio teacher, Teacher Emma Luisa Fernando, your guide in this learning experience.
Yay!
Before we begin, can I hear a loud cheer from you? Alright, you are really amazing! Today, grade 11, we are going to analyze and critique interpretation of literary texts based on geographic, linguistic, and ethnic dimension of Philippine literary history from pre-colonial to contemporary. Okay, do you know a great Filipino writer? That's good! So today, let us get to know them more by getting to know their works. Before we proceed, let's check how far you have gone with knowing them by answering this diagnostic activity. Choose the letter of the correct answer.
Oh yeah!
Alright, number 1. During this period, Jose Rizal's works such as No Limitang Hiring and El Filibusterismo were written to awaken the mind of our countrymen. A. Spanish period. B. American period. C. Pre-Spanish period. D. Period of Enlightenment. Number 2. The Philippines had literature such as legends, folktales, folk songs, and the like. A. Spanish period. B. Japanese period. C. Pre-Spanish period. D. Period of Enlightenment. Number 3. In this period, religious books were written such as Doctrina Christiana and Urbana and Felisa to support or contradict the Catholic Church. A. Spanish period. B. American period. C. 21st century period. D. Period of Enlightenment. Number 4. Poetry during this period were romantic and revolutionary. Letter A. The Third Republic period. Letter B. EDSA I period. Letter C. 21st century period. Letter D. Pre-Spanish period. Number 5. Poetry during this period were dealt with patience, regard for native culture and customs. A. The Third Republic period. B. 21st century period. C. EDSA I period. D. New Society period. There you go, grade 11. And we are done in our diagnostic test. So, do inhale and exhale. Let us now check your answers. A gentle reminder, in checking your papers, you must observe honesty. Can you do that for me? And here are the answers. Number 1, letter C. Number 2, letter D. Number 3, letter A. Number 4, A, and number 5, D. Did you get all the correct answers?
Yay!
Congratulations! Don't forget to stay tuned, grade 11. We will be back after some reminders.
Tayo na sa Radyo Eskwela. Tayo na!
Good day, my friends! Have you heard about the WOW against COVID-19? Let me tell you. WOW is an acronym which stands for W, wash hands, O, observe physical distancing, and W, wear face mask and face shield. I hope you remember it. Let's always practice WOW. A message from the Department of Education, Department of Health, and this station.
And we are back! Power up, Senior High!
Oh yeah!
We will now have our discussion, and I know that you are all excited. Try to recall the literary works you had discussed in your junior high school. Can you remember them? And be able to tell their linguistic and geographic origins? Alright, some of you may remember. Going back, what is this that we call geographic origin? That is right. Geographic origin refers to the place where a piece of literature came from. For example, the poem The Rural Maiden came from Region 2 and written by Fernando Maramag. How about linguistic origin? Precisely. The linguistic origin of a piece of literature is related to its geographic origin. For example, if a poem is written using the Ilocano dialect, most probably it originated from Region 2. Note though that a particular region may have more than one dialect. Take as example Region 2, which has different dialects like Iloco, Ibanag, Itawis, Gadang, and many more. The next one is the ethnic origin. Any idea? Brilliant! Related to the geographic and linguistic origins of a piece of literature is its ethnic origin, which refers to the racial or cultural beginning. An Ilocano poem that makes use of the Ilocano dialect may most probably trace its origin to the Ilocano race and discusses things related to the Ilocano culture. We may, however, have pieces of literature written in Ilocano which discuss things that are not Ilocano in ethnicity. Is that clear? Our forefathers already had their literature which reflected their customs and traditions. They had their alphabet even before we were colonized. The Spanish friars burned their alphabet in the belief that they were works of the devil or were written on materials that quickly perished, like the barks of trees, dried leaves, and bamboo cylinders, which could not have remained firm even if efforts were made to preserve them. Our unique geographic location is the reason why we are rich. It is a great pride to be a Filipino, right?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Let us dig deeper into the history of Philippine literature by studying the different periods where the literature of the Philippines has grown. The first one is the pre-Spanish literature. Any idea, grade 11? That's awesome! Pre-Spanish literature is characterized by folktales. These are made up of stories about life, adventure, love, horror, and humor where one can derive lessons. An example of this is The Moon and the Sun. Aside from folktales, we also have the epic age. Epics are long narrative poems in which a series of heroic achievements or events, usually of a hero, are dealt with at length. There were also folk songs during this era. These are one of the oldest forms of Philippine literature that emerged in the pre-Spanish period. These songs mirrored the early forms of culture, and many have 12 syllables. The songs manifest the artistic feelings of the Filipinos and show their innate appreciation for and love of beauty. Examples are Kundiman, Leron-Leron Sinta, Pamulinawin, Dandansoy, Sarong Banggi, and Atin Ko Pong Singsing. And take note, class! Literature in this period may be classified as religious prose and poetry, and secular prose and poetry. Spaniards greatly influenced the Philippine literature. The first Filipino alphabet, called Alibata, was replaced by the Roman alphabet. Also, the teaching of the Christian doctrine became the basis of religious practices. European legends and traditions brought here became assimilated in our songs, corridos, and moromoros. Amazing, right?
Yay!
Brilliant! The next period is the period of Enlightenment, wherein, in the 19th century, Filipino intellectuals educated in Europe, called ilustrados, began to write about the hitch of colonization. There were groups and movements formed to go against the Spaniards. One of these is the propaganda movement on 1872 to 1896. Do you have any idea about this or who led this? Very good! This movement was spearheaded mostly by Jose Rizal, Marcelo del Pilar, Graciano Lopez Haina, Antonio Luna, Mariano Ponce, Jose Mapanganiban, and Pedro Paterno. Can you name some of their works? Oh, some of Rizal's writings are No Limitang Here, Mi Ultimo Adios, Sobre la Indolencia de los Filipinos, and Filipinas dentro de 100 años. While Del Pilar wrote the following: Pag-ibig sa tinubuang lupa, Love of Country, Kaingat Kayo, Be Careful, and Dasalan at Toksohan, Prayers and Jokes. Some of Haina's writings are Fray Botod, La Hija del Fraile, The Child of the Friar, and Everything is Humbug, Everything is Mere Show, Sa Mga Filipino, and Talumpating Pagunita kay Columbus, an oration to commemorate Columbus. So exceptional, right?
Yay!
Yes, and you're doing well. Now, let us talk about the next period, the American regime. Any idea? Precisely. Linguistically, Americans influenced Filipino writers to write using English language, and one of the most famous during this period because of his free verse poem was Jose Garcia Villa. Alright, any guess about the next period? You got it right. It's the Japanese period. Philippine literature was interrupted in its development when another foreign country, Japan, conquered the Philippines between 1941 to 1945. Philippine literature in English came to a halt. This led to all newspapers not to be circulated in the community except for Tribune and Philippine Review. Filipino poetry during this period conformed to the common theme of most poems during the Japanese occupation, such as nationalism, country, love, and life in the barrios, faith, religion, and the arts. Three types of poems emerged during this period. First, the haiku, a poem of free verse that the Japanese like. It was made up of 17 syllables divided into 3 lines. Second, the tanaga, like the haiku, is a short but it had measure and rhyme. And the third one, the karaniwang anyo or the usual form. Can you still follow grade 11?
Oh yeah!
You are truly alert. The next one is the situation of literature in English. Any idea, grade 11? Wow, you've done your research. Because of the strict prohibitions imposed by the Japanese in the writing and publishing of works in English, Philippine literature in English experienced a dark period. For the first 20 years, many books were published, both in Filipino and in English. In the new Filipino literature, Philippine literature in Tagalog was revived during this period. Most themes in the writings dealt with Japanese brutalities, the poverty of life under the Japanese government, and the brave guerrilla exploits. Do you know, class, that youth like you did a very remarkable revolution? Yeah, you heard it right. It is the period of activism. According to Ponciano Pineda, youth activism in 1970 to 1972 was due to domestic and worldwide causes. Because of the ills of the society, the youth moved to seek reforms, the literary revolution. The youth became vocal with their sentiments and demanded a change in the government. It was manifested in the bloody demonstrations and sidewalk expressions as well as in literature. Indeed, you all played a great role. The next period is the period of the New Society, which started on September 21, 1972. During this period, the Carlos Palanca Awards continued to give annual rewards. Poems dealt with patience, regard for native culture, customs, and the beauties of nature and surroundings. Newspapers donned new forms such as economic progress, discipline, culture, tourism, and the like were favored more than the sensationalized reporting of killings, rape, and robberies. Filipinos before were hooked on reading magazines and comics. Still with me, grade 11?
Oh yeah!
Alright, that's good. The next one is the period of the Third Republic. The Philippines became a new nation, and this, former President Marcos called the New Republic of the Philippines, after 10 years of martial law. Poems during this period of the Third Republic were romantic and revolutionary. Many Filipino songs dealt with themes that were true to life, like those of grief, poverty, aspirations for freedom, love of God, of country, and fellow men. Are you familiar with martial law? Great! Now, we've come to the second to the last one, the post-EDSA 1 revolution. Here, history took another twist. Once more, the Filipino people regained their independence, and in 4 days from February 21 to 25, 1986, the so-called people power or lakas ng bayan prevailed. In the short span of the existence of the Republic of the Philippines, several changes already became evident. It was noticed in the new Filipino songs, newspapers, speeches, and even in the television programs. The now crony newspapers that enjoyed an overnight increase in the circulation were The Inquirer, Malaya, and the People's Journal. Still with me, learners?
Oh yeah!
Now, we're down to the last one, 21st century period. The new trends have been used and introduced to meet the needs and tastes of the new generation. 21st century learners are demanded to be ICT inclined, to complete with the style and format of writing as well. It's also where new codes or lingas are used to add flavor to the literary pieces produced nowadays. Did you get them all?
Yay!
There you have it, grade 11. The different periods in the history of Philippine literature. Hooray! So stay put for some reminders. Walang mang-iiwan. We will be back.
Tayo na sa Radyo Eskwela. Tayo na!
I still feel sleepy.
Haven't you had enough sleep last night?
Yes, I didn't. I slept at around 11 o'clock last night and woke up at 5 in the morning.
But why? Don't you know that we, young ones, need 8 to 10 hours of sleep?
Is that so?
Yes, enough sleep will make us awake, alert, alive, and enthusiastic for the day. It will also make us healthier.
Thank you for telling me.
A reminder from the Department of Education, Department of Health, and this station.
Hello there again, grade 11. Since we are done with our discussion, let us have a recap. Are you ready? Here we go. What again is a geographic origin? That is right. It refers to the place where a piece of literature came from. How about linguistic origin? Aha! It is related to its geographic origin. Like if it is written in Iloco, most probably it came from Ilocano regions. And how about ethnic origin? Very good. It refers to the racial or cultural beginning. Lastly, what are the different periods of the history of Philippine literature? Brilliant! Pre-Spanish literature, the propaganda movement, the American regime, the period of activism, period of the new society, the period of the Third Republic, and the post-EDSA, and the 21st century period. Fantastic! I guess you are all ready for a short quiz. Be sure you have with you your pen and paper. On this quiz, we must remember to observe honesty. No peeking at your note, learners.
Oh yeah!
That is great. Let's begin. I will be reading a sample of Filipino folktale in the pre-Spanish period entitled The Sun and the Moon. All you need to do is to answer these questions. So here are the questions. Number 1. What is the concern of the moon regarding his stars? Number 2. Why does the moon anger the sun? Number 3. What particular phenomenon is described in the Filipino folktale? Bear those questions in mind because here now is our text. The Sun and the Moon. In the olden days, like the moon, the sun had also star children, which were yellowish in color, very bright and very hot. The star children of the moon, however, were reddish and cool. The moon was scared that his stars would wither and die if they play with the star children of the sun. The moon suggested to the sun that they kill their children who were crowding the heavens with their number. When the sun had killed her children, the moon merely hid behind the clouds. In the evening, when the clouds faded, the moon starts to appear. In the evening, when the clouds faded, the moon stars appeared. This angered the sun, so he chased the moon. Thus, when he overtakes the moon, we have the so-called eclipse. Every morning, the sun kills the moon stars that he catches. Until now, this chase still continues. I repeat, the sun and the moon. In the olden days, like the moon, the sun had also star children which were yellowish in color, very bright and very hot. The star children of the moon, however, were reddish and cool. The moon was scared that his stars would wither and die if they played with the star children of the sun. The moon suggested to the sun that they kill their children who were crowding the heavens with their number. When the sun had killed their children, the moon merely hid behind the clouds. In the evening, when the clouds faded, the moon stars appeared. This angered the sun, so he chased the moon. Thus, when he overtakes the moon, we have the so-called eclipse. Every morning, the sun kills the moon stars that he catches. Until now, this chase still continues. So, did you like the tale?
Yay!
Awesome! So it's time for you to answer the questions. Number 1. What is the concern of the moon regarding its stars? Number 2. Why does the moon anger the sun? Number 3. What particular phenomenon is described in the Filipino folktale? I am giving you 3 minutes to answer.
Tayo ay mag-aral sa loob ng ating tahanan. Sa radyo ay mag-tune lang, tiyak ika'y may matututunan. Pagkat sa gitna ng pandemya, tayo pa rin ay magkaisa upang masigurong bawat bata ay pumapasa. Halina't matuto gamit ang ating radyo, pakinggan at unawain, aralin na ituturo. Patuloy ang edukasyon para sa ating henerasyon. Sa daan ng pagkatuto ay walang maiiwan. Kaya halina sa Radyong Eskwela. Pagkat kayo'y kinabukasan, ang pag-asa ng ating bayan. Isa pusong pagkatuto nang matupad ang pangarap mo. Pagkat sa gitna ng pandemya, tayo pa rin ay magkaisa upang masigurong bawat bata ay bumabasa. Halina't matuto gamit ang ating radyo,
time. And wow, we are done with our quiz. We will check your answers on our next episode. What a fine day to learn, isn't it? How about a round of applause for yourselves, class? And that concludes our lesson, grade 11. I hope you learned much today. For more learning episodes, always tune in to Radio Eskwela, your school away from school. Study well and keep learning. On behalf with the whole SDO Isabela RBI production team, this is your ultimate ka-shiner, your scriptwriter and radio teacher, Teacher Emma Luisa Fernando, saying, dream big and be safe.
Patuloy ang edukasyon para sa ating henerasyon.
Sa daan ng pagkatuto ay walang may iwan.
Kaya halina sa Radyo Eskwela!